It looks like WWE could be planning a TNA invasion, as a new report outlines that there is interest from both companies in cross-promoting stars. We're also going to take a listen to comments made by the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, about his views on the difference between AEW and WWE that have the wrestling world to talk in. I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right, so we have seen over the past number of weeks a partnership develop between TNA and WWE. And it looks like the forbidden door between these two organizations is wide the hell open. And it is largely due to Jordynne Grace, who we will talk about at length in just a second. But a new report from FightfulSelect.com. Go over and check out the full report, by the way. We're going to take a look at an excerpt from it. But a new report outlines that there is interest in having more stars from both companies appear on each other's product. Here is a snippet from the Fightful Select report. It says, quote, "Since the Royal Rumble, Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp has spoken to several women on the WWE roster who have indicated that they'd love to appear on TNA programming as well. One specifically said she believes it'd be a great opportunity for talent to cross-promote and give themselves angles outside of WWE that could help generate buzz. Natalya outright mentioned Jordynne Grace to us on camera as someone she'd like to work with. One NXT higher-up mentioned Steve Maclin as a natural crossover fit, noting that there are few people in the wrestling industry more familiar with NXT and the Performance Center process than Steve Maclin. There were well over a dozen WWE talent we spoke with that were open to appearing in TNA, and all of them said they expected something of that nature to happen sooner rather than later." Had to stumble my way through that one, but we got through it and we learned a lot here. Obviously, go check out the full report. It's got way more details about TNA and WWE and kind of how this came together. But we are at a point, and the fact that we are at a point with TNA and WWE that it looks like there is a healthy relationship between these two is unfathomable. Like, where we are in pro wrestling just a few years ago to where we are now is night and day. And there are so many things that are the cause of it. Obviously, AEW, we've talked about that and the impact that has had on not only WWE, but the entire professional wrestling scene. But really, Triple H and his vision for what WWE is in the future. An industry leader, no doubt, but one that understands when and where to cross-promote, when and where to take this sort of action that would generate buzz. And that is what WWE is about. I've said it before. I will say it until we are all blue in the face. WWE is a content creator. Their job is to get as much engagement on their weekly television show and on Peacock and their PLEs as much as they possibly can. One way of doing that and one way of getting people interested is by generating buzz and doing partnerships like the one that they seemingly are doing with TNA. And if you were to tell me just last year, 2 years ago, that WWE and TNA would have such a high-functioning relationship, that Jordynne Grace would be challenging for the NXT Championship at a PLE, I'd tell you you're out of your mind. We had the one kind of crossover with Mickie James as the TNA Knockouts champion entering the Royal Rumble. However, that was largely seen as a one-off. But the fact that we're here and there's the potential for more, you heard those names, Steve Maclin. I think another name in that report that we didn't read out was Jonathan Gresham. Josh Alexander, excuse me. There is so much possible when you have talent of that ilk, talent who are that high up the totem pole in TNA showing up in WWE, talent who I'm sure there are a lot of casual WWE fans who've heard about these people kind of online or in different wrestling circles, but they may never have checked them out. And that interest, that mysterious intrigue around some of these talent is going to make that moment when they do appear on WWE TV mean even more. Whether it's on TNA, whether it's on NXT, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown, doesn't matter. When you have that happen, everyone is going to be talking about it. Because the fact that WWE would have that, we really haven't seen anything truly like that since back in ECW, or back when they did it, with ECW in the late 90s. Like, they had the actual invasion, which was not a real invasion because Vince McMahon owned everything, and it didn't live up to the hype, if we're being honest. And I would imagine if they could find a way to loop in a TNA invasion of WWE, not only would that obviously help TNA and make it even bigger than it is today, like that would, the impact that would have, pardon the pun, on TNA is incalculable in my opinion. But what it would generate and the buzz that it could generate for WWE, the number of fans, especially hardcore wrestling fans, that would have to watch to see what the hell happened or tune in or whatever, you have to do it. I think that whether it's like WWE could have an entire show where they job the hell out everyone on that TNA roster, and I promise you the executives at TNA would not care. Because at the end of the day, they are getting that exposure. They are getting to highlight their prominent talent in front of millions and millions of people. That is the goal if you're TNA. And if you're WWE, it's another thing to get people talking. It's a partnership. Just like they're partnering with Prime, and there's, a balance of give and take there. There's a balance of give and take here with TNA as well. Sure, you're giving a largely like secondary, third dairy, non-primary wrestling company a little bit of exposure, but it's not really going to affect your bottom line. Like, if they were to do it with AEW, it would be a whole different ballgame because AEW's numbers are way closer. They are like leaps and bounds the second most prominent wrestling company in North America. So as far as, oh my God, maybe they shouldn't be working with TNA, there's none of that. I think Triple H understands that this is business. And also, for being honest, this is a way for WWE, much like you could argue AEW has done with New Japan, it's a way for WWE to start building out a talent pipeline. I think whenever her contract is up, I don't believe we know just yet when that is. I could very easily see Jordynne Grace being signed to WWE. I think there are a ton of people on that roster who, if they're given exposure and if they are on WWE TV and they get a good reaction, I think you could see WWE being like, all right, Josh Alexander, all right, Steve Maclin, come on back. There's so much that's possible in this new era of WWE, in this new era of professional wrestling, that you can only be excited about it. And I really am. I would love to see a TNA WWE invasion angle, but we'll have to see if we actually get it. Let me know in the comment section if you think we will get it or if you think we should get it. I want to hear from all of you as we move on to our next and final story here. Let's talk about the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, who made some interesting comments about WWE and AEW this week. He was on with ABC 6 in Philadelphia. Here is what the American Dragon had to say. Here's what Bryan Danielson had to say about AEW and WWE.
And this is one of the things that drew me to AEW and why I kind of wanted to come to AEW is that AEW is like a wrestling first company. It's a wrestling company for wrestling fans. So if you're a wrestling fan, and sometimes WWE is more just based on general entertainment. They want to reach as many casual viewers as possible. Where I think AEW is like, hey, if you love wrestling, here's this. But also, like, even if you're not a wrestling fan, we're putting on wrestling, and the wrestling itself is going to bring you in. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the really unique things about AEW. If you were to do a comparison of the two, like just watching the shows, you'll see that there's a lot more wrestling in the 2 hours of Dynamite than there is even in a 3-hour Raw. And sometimes there's more wrestling on an AEW Dynamite show than there is in Raw and SmackDown combined, And so it's like, so that's one of the things that drew me to it.
So that was the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, talking about one of the things that drew him to AEW. And there are many people online who have criticized Bryan's comments, saying that it was a bad faith or, he's just I can't believe he would say that about WWE, or he's dragging WWE. I don't think that's what Bryan is doing. Bryan has been very vocal about the fact that he appreciated his time in WWE. He respects the people that he worked with there. He understood that for the longest time, that was the place to be, to own your craft in wrestling and be prominent in wrestling and make money in wrestling. But the reality is, right, the way he broke that down was AEW is a wrestling first company. WWE is an entertainment first company. He never said that either of those was a bad thing. Bryan has just said that the wrestling part catered to him more. And that's what he cares about more. That is not a drag on WWE. If you want to take it as that, that is what it is. But it's not. And I think it's part of this larger, very toxic conversation online about, oh my God, WWE sucks, AEW is the best, or AEW sucks, WWE is the best. The tribalism is all bullshit. Let's be honest, right? People, there are a lot of, the only reason it exists is because you have social media engines and platforms that incentivize people to, have their engagement farming takes, get other people riled up. And it's a cycle that continues and continues in the comments. And then it's like a persona that you have. There's so many wrestling accounts that do that. But for Bryan to just say that I prefer, the way this is presented in AEW over WWE, personally, it's not going to change the fact that WWE is the industry leader. It's not going to change the fact that right now WWE is the hottest pro wrestling company in the world. It's not going to change the fact that WWE is doing the best business it's ever done. He's speaking from a personal standpoint, and that's fine. There are always going to be wrestlers who prefer that wrestling first aspect, and there are going to be people and wrestlers who prefer that entertainment first aspect, the exposure WWE can provide them, and that's great. That is what makes this era of wrestling, in my view, one of the best eras for wrestlers, because you have so many different flavors of professional wrestling. You have hardcore wrestling with GCW. You have the ability to go and do shows like Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and have that more realistic, authentic MMA look to it. You have the ability to go over to New Japan and wrestle that strong style, that fast, sporty style. You have the ability to go to AEW and wrestle this strong style meets and North American sports entertainment, and then you have WWE, which does entertainment better than anyone else. It is up to the fans, right? I think, to decide what they like. And if you like AEW, just watch AEW. Support the wrestlers in AEW that you like. And same with WWE. If you like WWE, probably shouldn't be spending your time bashing AEW. Spend your time watching more WWE. Go back and watch stuff from I was going to say the network. Go back and watch stuff in Peacock. Go back and watch your favorite wrestlers where they were 10 years ago. There's so much more productive stuff we could be doing than complaining about, oh God, I hate this wrestling company. That was funny. I popped myself there. But there's so much more productive stuff we could be doing, guys. This to me is just indicative of, choice. And Bryan made a choice. He's sticking by it. The interesting thing here is Bryan Danielson's contract expires later this year. I believe right around September, right around the all-in date, his contract is up. And, Bryan has talked about this being his last full-time run, that by the time his daughter turns 7 years old, he will be done as an active full-time professional wrestler. And, we're talking about, what's going on with that. Is he actually going to stay with AEW? Tony Khan has said basically that he would love nothing more than to have Bryan in AEW forever. And he would give up basically everything to ensure it happens. And, the other interesting thing is Wrestle Dream this year is going to be back in the Seattle-Tacoma area. It's going to be in the Tacoma Dome, a historic arena for wrestling. And I don't think that there's any better place for Bryan to finish his final run as a full-time wrestler than in the Tacoma, Seattle area, right around where he grew up in Aberdeen, Washington, in the Tacoma Dome, in a big match. As far as who that person is, tune into a future video. But I think I could very easily see Bryan signing at least a short-term extension to wrestle at Wrestle Dream. And I think like there's so much that's possible there that could make, honestly, wrestling history. So we'll see what happens there. Bryan Danielson, obviously his contract is running up. We're in the final few months of his full-time active career. So enjoy them while you can. Let me know in the comment section what you think of all of this. What is your favorite Bryan Danielson match? Let me know that in the comment section as well. Also, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.